Greek mythology warns of a dark, winding prison designed to disorient and trap its victims, the sprawling, chaotic lair of the Minotaur. But the reality is a physical location. This is the Palace of Knossos on the island of Crete. Centuries after its collapse, early Greek visitors wandered through these ruined, windowless corridors and assumed they had stumbled into a monster's trap. The actual floor plan of Knossos suggests a different purpose. It reveals the strict orthogonal grid lines of a highly optimized distribution center. The massive, right-angled storage magazines were engineered to prioritize the exact measurement and movement of goods over human comfort. Knossos operated as the central administrative node of what archaeologists call a palace economy. This architectural complex functioned as a high-security vault, a thermodynamic battery designed for state-controlled caloric hoarding. The archaeologist who excavated Knossos in the early 20th century, Sir Arthur Evans, interpreted the site through a romantic lens. Based on vibrant artifacts like this bull-leaping fresco, Evans imagined a utopian society driven primarily by art and ritual. He noted a striking anomaly. Knossos lacks the massive defensive walls that surround almost every other Bronze Age settlement in the Mediterranean. Modern archaeology suggests a less idyllic reason for this lack of fortifications. The absence of walls points to a form of security that relied on the total control of resources rather than physical barriers. By centralizing the storage of essential goods, the administration created a system where the population was tied directly to the palace for the logistics of survival. The art and peace Evans admired were the outward symptoms of a society built on complete logistical dependence. Bronze Age Crete is an isolated, mountainous environment. Its weather patterns are highly volatile, routinely causing unpredictable crop failures. For an independent Bronze Age farmer, a single bad harvest meant starvation. The palace offered a structural solution to this environmental instability. Local producers surrendered their agricultural surplus to the state in exchange for long-term security. The unpredictable environment made independent farming a death sentence, driving the population into a centralized thermodynamic safety net. The physical scale of this operation is visible in the subterranean storerooms of the Knossos complex. This is the hardware of the palace economy. Massive, man-sized clay jars known as pithoi. By sinking these jars into the stone floors, engineers regulated the temperature for long-term preservation. Inside these vessels, the state hoarded massive quantities of grain, olive oil, and wine. This animated graph visualizes the sheer volume of that strategy, overlaying the physical jars to show the aggregated caloric hoarding. These endless rows of jars functioned as a physical battery designed to power an entire civilization through famine. The hoarded calories were deployed through a redistribution algorithm. During famines, the state dispensed food back to the population to ensure basic survival. Excess surplus was used to feed highly specialized, non-farming artisans living and working at the palace. This flowchart maps how the remaining surplus was exported overseas in exchange for vital raw materials like copper and Egyptian ivory. As the diagram expands, it shows how this centralization funneled all regional economic momentum through one single geographic node. This logistical reality forces us to reevaluate the leadership sitting in this throne room. The king of Knossos acted as a chief supply chain officer. His authority derived from the absolute control of physical inventory. Managing inventory at this scale required a way to track and audit thousands of inbound and outbound variables. To solve this, the administration engineered a proprietary software, the Linear A script. Every surviving example of Linear A suggests a purely administrative origin. It served as an immutable ledger to log every drop of oil, every bushel of grain, and every head of livestock moving through the facility. Scribes physically indented these data points into slabs of wet clay. Modern data tables clarify the ancient markings, revealing the granularity of the state's oversight. Writing on Crete evolved as a technology of oversight, providing the state with an uncompromising view into the resources of its subjects. At its height, the Minoan operation exerted overwhelming logistical influence across the entire Bronze Age Aegean. how did a civilization maintain this dominance without standing armies or fortified walls? The hardware of the pithoi and the software of Linear A were the invincible weapons of the state. The administration owned the means of survival, making military occupation unnecessary. Which brings us back to the architecture of the labyrinth. An optimized logistics grid is difficult to escape. To leave the system was to leave the source of food. The Minoans dominated antiquity by building a resilient caloric engine, proving that precise inventory management translates directly into geopolitical power.